Welcome, everybody, to the Worldwide Bestiary. I am your host, Tyler Hamill.
And I am Chris Norton, co-host.
And we here are going to talk to you about monsters, specifically monsters from different movies, not specific to horror, but just movies that have a really good monster in them.
That's right.
So our first episode, we are going to hop into the world of Gremlins.
That is right. The Kevin McAllister of monsters.
So, are we going to talk about how these critters, these gremlins or mogwai, are we sure they're not Furbies?
That is a very good point.
Which came first?
I think that there is some relationship there. Maybe that is why I'm creeped out by Furbies. Very likely. They do have a nonsense language.
Yes. Well, actually, I'll get into that a little bit later. So, starting off, the description of these little guys, yes, they definitely look like Furbies, but just the mogwais at least. But they have arms, they have hands, they can walk and talk, but they're super small, they're super slow, and they're kind of fragile in their little mogwai state.
Yes. But they're super intelligent.
Yes, super intelligent. They can read.
Right.
They can speak.
They can play music. They can figure out how instruments work.
Yes. Ooh, there's a lot. They're just immense knowledge of electrical devices.
Oh yeah. I mean, and they get even more intelligent when they are transformed. Like they are able to, without any sort of instruction, like operate heavy machinery like a snowplow to crash through somebody's house. Like there is no real limit to the amount that they are able to kind of morph into the situation that's needed. To kill all humans.
Well, at least it's Spawn. For some reason, there's a huge personality difference between the Prime Mogwai and its Spawn.
Yeah, and somehow they are able to be adorable no matter what they're doing, even when they're trying to murder people.
Yes. So... So these little guys, they come with 3 rules, and if you haven't seen the actual movie, you know that 1, don't get them in sunlight. Keep them out of bright lights.
Is that the first rule?
Yes, it is actually. It is keep them away from bright lights. The sun will kill them. So there's already a good weakness there. 2,
don't get them wet.
Don't get them wet.
Yeah.
And 3, never, ever feed these little Furbies, no matter how much they cry, like the actual toy, after midnight.
Right. This is a super ambiguous rule, because what is that even dictated by? Like, if they travel to the other side of the planet, so are they ultimately affected by the sun? And the distance, is that what, or is it just?
Well, they're certainly not solar powered. So.
Right?
Solar power, I think, might be their weakness. Another weakness, because they can't control the. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
Bad bit.
This is an allegory against getting midnight snacks, is what is going on here. I'm pretty sure.
I can see that.
The intention was. Because, like, when does that rule end? Does it end at sunrise? Does it end at, like, 5 in the morning when you're going to work? Like, it's cool to...
Because there's different time zones. It's like, what dictates why it wouldn't happen in this time zone? or this time
Right?
zone? Like, are they catered to one specific time zone?
Yeah. I
When
mean, these are
time
like,
itself is kind of just a human man-made construct.
yeah,
Are
these are very like half-ass vampire rules.
they kind
Like,
of are,
when does
yeah.
it end? When does it? I mean, it does start at midnight from wherever you are. But why? Like, does that account for daylight savings time? I mean, it just really depends on your watch, I guess.
Yeah.
Except it doesn't, because they chew through it, and that's how they mess everything up.
You're correct. So let's get into the rules. We're not
Okay.
like what. Why light? Why sunlight? Is that an actual like just a vampire thing?
That's what I figured. It's definitely got some vampire notes to it. I mean, even at the end, spoiler alert, they die via like the sunlight garden room. Yeah, I mean, they just like boil up when they hit sunlight. But the Mogwai was in there, and he didn't get affected. So I'm not really sure what's going on there.
In the movie, Gizmo did kind of stay away from that stream of light, even though it kind of lit up the room. Oddly enough.
Yeah, so they're definitely taken out by sunlight. So I think there is some like ties to like vampire lore going on with these things. Except they don't multiply like vampires.
No, they definitely don't. They don't bite you and you become a Mogwai or a Gremlin or something like that. In fact, I'm pretty sure they just eat anything that they can, including people.
Oh yeah, these things are completely driven by,
chaotic energy.
Chaotic energy, and they have like a natural drive to multiply themselves, or at least one does. Like the Stripe,
yes,
who's like the evil leader.
I think, which actually that brings me to like brings us to the second rule: don't get them wet. I feel like that's like a painful process. At least it was for Gizmo, who in the movie gets water from like a what was it, like a paintbrush holder just filled with water. It gets dumped on him, and then just on his back it just starts to bubble up and fizz, and then just poof poof, little puffs of fur like pop out and then just morph into more Mogwai. And then he looks so sad. He looks so hurt.
Yeah, I think that you can see like at the end of the movie, when Stripe is by the fountain, that he's like absorbing some of that water, and you start to see, without the cute fur, like how some of that actually manifests itself in these like boiling pustules, like all over his back, like that.
It's really gross.
It's really gross. It's like the worst zit problem ever. It's like terrible gremlin back knee.
Oh no!
Becomes other gremlins.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's a terrible back knee problem. Soon to be a gremlin problem.
And like, they're mean after they spawn too. Like for some reason, like because with Gizmo, he's fine and dandy. Like what makes him the nicer one of the 6 that were originally are,
right?
Versus
is it a social thing?
Yeah,
like they've given him rules and a conscience. Are these creatures naturally evil and he's been trained otherwise?
They're definitely sentient.
Oh yeah. Like they're
not like animal sentient either. They're like people sentient. It's like a child.
Yeah.
Almost.
I mean, one of their main things, like the thing that makes these things so dangerous is that they are I mean, first of all, they are completely manic. Like they will do anything to they don't have that wall that says like maybe I shouldn't do that. Like that wall is gone.
Oh.
And I mean, they just come out of the gate like having absorbed intelligence of their environment around them. Like they can use tools.
Yes.
And they have a sense of language that goes from like kind of gibberish, things like yum yum or whatever, just to give you like a sense.
They can learn and speak English, but in like simple words occasionally.
Yeah, like I remember one of them had said the word gun towards the end. That was so like, yeah, they were, I think if left to their own devices, I mean, they would ruin everything, obviously, the Gremlins, but I think that they would absorb more and more language. Like they were able to imitate things on TV.
Gizmo definitely knows Chinese.
Yes.
Because the grandfather, as he is named, or I think his other name is like, what, Mr. Wing?
Yes.
Spoilers for the ending. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Great 80s film. Just go watch it. But
actually, with the ending, I thought it was really amusing because they end the entire movie. Okay, yes, this is spoilers. They end the entire movie with Gizmo getting taken back. He does not get transformed into Gremlins because
he's good little Mogwai.
Well, originally, so I had actually watched the director's cut of this, or the director's commentary of this.
Okay.
And Gizmo was originally slated, basically when all the other Mogwai turn evil and start eating chicken and stuff, Gizmo was actually supposed to turn into a gremlin. Like he was supposed to terrorize stuff, but Steven Spielberg stopped it. He realized like, oh, this thing's too cute. Like you have to keep it. I mean, just to make the movie.
Not know that.
Yeah. So he was. That's why the puppet looks terrible, right? Like you watch the movie and the effects they don't hold up. So at least in the beginning, like the puppet it's supposed to be super limited. There wasn't a lot for the Mogwai thing to do because they thought it was just going to turn. So they spent a lot of the production. It was spent just basically playing catch up. And they thought they had a bunch of extra time because this puppet wasn't really supposed to do a lot of things, like walk around. But they realized like, oh, this thing's too cute. We can't kill it. It's not going to be fulfilling to people to have this thing just like go away. And I mean, that was really smart too, because, they made a second one and the marketing this thing at the time was Baby Yoda, like for real.
Yeah. It's like a cross between Yoda and Furbies. Essentially that's what these things look like. It's baby Yoda just with fur.
And I mean, at the time, like this was marketed, this is a long time
and
ago,
not green.
This was absolutely marketed in a very similar way, like similar colors and everything, like similar trailer to E.T. And it was done by
I can see
Spielberg.
that. Yep.
So people actually thought they were getting like another E.T. movie.
That makes complete sense. Now,
which is, well, one second, because this is why it was after this movie that they realized that there was at the time there was like a PG and then there was an R movie. So after this movie, because of all that, they realized, oh, we need something in the middle. It's a little more of a warning, because like I remember seeing this. I don't think I saw this movie as a kid in the theater, but I definitely
didn't.
I had a lot of stuff from this movie as a kid. Like I had the storybook records from this movie, which was like kind of a read along kids picture book. Can you even imagine?
Wow. No, I never had that as a child, actually. I just knew that my grandmother had the movie, so that's where I saw it.
Right. Yeah. Like it had coloring books. Like this movie was marketed to children. My parents let me watch this movie, but they didn't let me watch Ninja Turtles because Ninja Turtles was too violent.
I mean, it is.
But this is the thing that
yes. We'll have to get into that in a different episode. So, as you said earlier, about
and it ends
Gizmo,
the same way.
Does it really?
It does. This movie. That was my whole sidelong rant. But this movie ends the same way as E.T., which is basically like, "Bye, Billy."
Oh my God, you're right. It does.
It just takes off. God. And then the thing is gone. Which is like exactly how E.T. ends. It's like the same thing. There's a lot of weird parallels.
There is. Dang it, Steven Spielberg. Why'd you give us the same movie twice?
Right? It's so amazing.
So, like, as you said earlier, though, that Gizmo was supposed to eat the chicken and whatnot.
Yes.
After they eat,
yes.
After midnight, they kind of cocoon themselves in this grotesque green glowing fog dispensing poop cocoons.
Yeah, it is like a cross between like a spider's nest and a wasp nest and the egg from Alien.
Ooh, I could see that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's so much more gross than I remember it being.
It's just more gross than anything.
Right? It's like sticky. It's got goo on it. It's got like weird bug-like spines and things. It's not a good situation. Mm-mm. I don't know why you wouldn't just like burn those things immediately. Like seeing those in your attic, in your room of like, okay, obviously these things are terrible.
Yeah, they don't look happy and fun. They look...
Yeah. It looks like something you poke and like 1,000 spiders come out, and they're all huge, like fist size.
Nope.
And they are.
Yeah, basically.
They're all evil.
Yeah, and then when they hatch... Oh, God.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Then they become
the Gremlins.
That's when the traps start and everything.
So these Gremlins are... God, they look completely different from the Mogwai. And they're bigger. They're faster, definitely.
And they're really strong. Like, they rip through metal vents. I can't do that.
They're super strong, actually. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. And they, like, right out of the gate, it lets you know that they're super intelligent. Like, these things hatch. Billy calls home to check on his mom. And these things have already figured out how to be in like the basement, and they are ripping out the like the phone cable or whatever.
They cut the phone wire.
Yeah, no cell phones in this movie. It's all landlines all the time. They actually even have the first idea for like a cordless phone, which is really just like a walkie-talkie sort of implement that is somehow connected to the landline. But I mean, it's all landlines. These things are smart enough to basically strand the mom by ripping out the cabling. I don't even know which cables to rip out to do that.
Yeah, so, no, I don't either, actually.
Like, these things are coming after you.
Oh, yeah, and they don't care who you are. They see person, they want to make that person's life a living hell.
Yeah, they're going to do it in a smart smart way. Like, these things live up to the trope of, when you hear music playing downstairs and there's nobody in the house, something turned it on. Is it a monster? Yes, it was a monster. These things did that. Like, that, they totally follow this movie trope.
Yes.
Of, we got to lure somebody down there, and then horrible stuff happens. It always happens.
And remember how I said, except they're not green? Well, now they are. They are now green. They're skinny and lanky, and they got like sharp teeth. I'm pretty sure I've had like a weird nightmare about one of these weird things, but they're like zombified. That's a whole different story thing that I could go on for hours. Not really hours, minutes mostly.
I mean, they're pretty great though. So I mean, yeah, let's talk about it. Like, so they start up at the house. Like, that's where a lot of traps and like it starts to reveal a few of their like how they go and attack people,
their
and actually some of the weaknesses, like how you can actually defeat some of these things.
Oh yeah,
and this has like just terrible. It has like terrible death scenes. They're like really super iconic.
Like they're durable, but in a way that a person is durable.
Right. Yeah.
You could basically use anything if you were trying to defend yourself against another person.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Like, this kitchen is disgusting by the end of this movie. Like, there is green, sticky blue or green blood like everywhere. And actually, in the director's commentary, they describe that room as just being ruined. It was just done.
I mean, the first kill was like with the blender.
Yes. There is a defunct orange juicer where you basically drop a whole orange into this thing, and it just blends this orange into like oblivion. And earlier in the movie, you drop the actual orange in, and like the orange juice and stuff goes everywhere. Well, of course, they're going to duplicate that with having blood just spray on every surface possible. And I mean, in the director's commentary, they described it just getting on every single person of the crew that was working on production. Which, I mean, yeah, you look at that room and it's everywhere. So yeah, I mean, the mom's in there, and she puts it through. She basically, this thing is the gremlin is in the bowl.
Yes.
And she just reaches around and hits the button, and you just see like these puppet legs, just like spinning around, and green goo being just shuffled everywhere. It has like like if you like the idea of killing little monsters, this movie has got everything that you've ever wanted. It's got like the blender scene.
I believe she's
microwave scene.
I think she stabs one of them with just a kitchen knife.
Yeah.
Like, this mom is super smart in this movie. She's like, okay, like even before, like,
yeah,
she sees the pods. She sees that they hatch before she even like starts going Rambo on all of these little gremlins in her kitchen. She grabs a knife and like Christmas
that mom's
music
smart.
starts playing. They
yes.
Do you see what I see? It's like, oh god, that makes it so creepy. Because it's like just the lyrics of that song with the scene.
Oh yeah. This movie is
genius.
This movie is a giant fuck you to Christmas.
Oh no, it absolutely is.
Like there is a gremlin that is hiding in the tree. As the tree like topples over, like there's a monster in the Christmas tree. That's the best. And it gets its head chopped off by a sword.
Yes, it does. Like anything can actually hurt these little fuckers.
Yeah, I mean, it is very much like fighting a super aggressive pet iguana. I mean,
I wouldn't want
it can
to
be
do
damaged
that,
by a
though.
lot
I
of
love
the
iguanas.
I mean, I like iguanas too, but like, not if they're super malicious.
I mean, that's fair. I like lizards. It's too much.
I thought it was funny in the movie they were actually described as multiple times by the racist guy, the Mr. Futterman.
Yeah.
They were described all the time as little green men. Like they thought they were little aliens, but they do not look like little men at all. They look like little monsters.
I have a thing on that. Because I think the design that they went with, I forget the farmhouse. There was like a farm in Kentucky that was, I put air quotes here, attacked by aliens.
Oh my gosh.
But the description of the said aliens, were basically, they called them goblins.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yes.
That's
like,
kinda
this is an
interesting.
actual, like, cryptid thing. And I'm wondering if maybe the design from that... It became a pretty famous thing, and I'm kind of kicking myself for not remembering what they're called.
Like goblins.
But
Okay.
I know it's from Kentucky. It's a cryptid. And they kind of match the description of what the gremlins look like.
Okay. I could see it. I mean, they're generally... It feels like a little bit of a generic, monster of, claws,
Yes.
teeth, like long appendages, type of deal.
They're super stealthy and super, like, tricky. They're tricksters.
There's like a weird balance between loving them and hating them.
Yes, there
Like-
definitely is.
Like, it feels a little bit like watching somebody else's kids where you don't really care if they ruin the place because it's not your house, but like at the same time they're waving guns around in people's faces and yeah. There's
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much there is like actual death and like dismemberment. It's very chaotic throughout the entire thing. So there is like real danger there.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, they're just like little. They're like kid sized.
Yes.
And they dress them up like Christmas carolers. And
Oh my gosh, yes.
there's like our bar scene. Did you?
Yes.
Like the bar scene is like the. I remember sitting through there and I was like, this is like an evil
Looney Tunes.
Muppet movie. It's evil Muppets is what it is. Like they're like spoof characters. Like there's a film noir detective. There is it's like dogs playing poker sort of scene.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's so many things that
And they're like, they have
wanna like
no regard for themselves either, because they're just kind of like I'm pretty sure one of them legit just shoots another one
yeah.
with a gun. These things
that
can
was actually
use
really funny.
guns.
I think that was in the bar scene too. There was actually it was really funny. It was such a meta moment because they had one gremlin that had two puppets on its hand, but like the gremlins are puppets. So like
Oh, yeah.
that's the one that gets shot, I think if I'm remembering correctly, but I just remember being amused of like, oh, it's mocking itself like past the third of the fourth wall. Is that fourth wall?
Yeah, it's fourth wall. It definitely is.
Oh, and they love Snow White. That's the best.
Mm-hmm.
They're totally little kids because they're all singing along to Hi Ho, Hi Ho.
They still, despite their mischievous nature and they're just grotesque visage.
Yeah. I mean,
They
they've always
love
got,
music.
like,
They love music.
they love it. They love it. Yeah, I mean that's the quote. That's why it's so funny because Billy and Kate are and Gizmo, they're sneaking into the theater where they find him hiding in the dark place before the sun comes up, and they find him watching Snow White,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the whole reveal, and they're loving it. Like that's the best. Is just seeing all these evil monsters, the juxtaposition of that, and knowing that they cause so much trouble, and then watching them just be giddy at singing along to cartoons.
I wonder how much Warner Brothers had to pay to even get that Disney property in that movie.
I think that there was definitely some issues between different old movies and classics that actually appeared on like TVs and things like that. I mean, I think that actually, to that point, one of the reasons this movie, like when you watch it, it feels very nostalgic, very familiar.
Mm-hmm. I feel the
There've been
same.
a ton of movies shot on these sets. Like almost every place in this entire movie had to be a set versus a real location because they had to drill puppet holes everywhere for this.
Oh yeah, they absolutely had to. There's so many different gremlins.
So,
Even
they
like
can't be drilling holes just in random locations. So yeah, all this stuff is it was filmed on the Warner Brothers back lot. And yeah, just a ton of movies had been filmed there, like Back to the Future, It's a Wonderful Life. So yeah, that's why it feels familiar, is because a ton of movies have had scenes in these exact places. I just thought it was...
I was wondering about that because it did look very familiar.
Right? Yeah. It's pretty great.
So,
all right, so let's see. How
do we survive?
How do we survive?
Well, first off,
okay.
First thing, how do you survive this? You follow the fucking rules.
Right? Yeah. Just don't feed them after midnight.
They'll
not
be
arbitrary.
fine. If they're already acting
arbitrary,
mischievous, maybe throw them out in the sunlight and just be done with it. Just to make sure.
Yeah. Don't be making what do they call it? The Peltzer pet. Don't be making thousands of these things.
No.
That's the worst idea.
Because the gremlins, I don't think have any regard on the getting wet part. I don't think they're bothered by it.
No, they love it. They it was not like the song. It was not fun to stay at the YMCA. Like, it's a bad time. They made it the worst time ever. There's like eggs in this pool. Like,
yeah. gross eggs all up in this pool, and it definitely, like, with the amount of water, I think determines the amount of creatures created. So
yeah, that thing.
How do we survive in the event that the gremlins have become gremlins? If the Mogwai has already transferred over into gremlin state and multiplied a surplus amount, how do we survive this?
Okay, so I think first of all we have to set some rules for the survival kit. It has to fit in a backpack. Do you think that's fair?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You want to travel light, regardless of whatever situation you're in.
All right, so I think that one of the best things that you can have in your kit
is a gun.
Is
I'm joking.
I mean, a gun would do it. It's. I mean, it is. It's like fighting an alligator. Like, They're tough, but they're not resistant really to like stabby stab.
No, they're definitely not.
I would say some sort of like flash.
Ooh, yeah, like a bright flashlight, UV light, something that's a UV light that can like emulate sunlight, because they're gonna be roaming around at night.
See, it's like vampire rules, but I don't know if it'd work. Like you'd think sunlight would be, but
that is yet to be
not
seen.
But we did see a camera flash go off in the bar scene, and that totally turned the tide from like a room full of swarming gremlins into like the escape route. Like that was the whole thing. Definitely stunned them. So yeah, either super high powered flashlight, that seems like it would do it. I don't think they had those at the time, really. Like they had mag lights, but yeah, camera flash definitely would do it. Yeah, I would say if you have a neckbeard sword, yeah, absolutely. This is
any
the time
sword,
to bring it out.
Whether it's replica or like actual real sword, or just anything sharp.
Yeah, like they are very susceptible to chopping of the heads off. Absolutely.
Fire, you can kill them with fire really easily.
Did they
blew
have
up
fire in this movie?
They blew up the entire theater while they were watching Snow White.
Yeah, I mean, these things are basically...
And the only one that wasn't there was Stripe, because he had a hankering for some candy.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically just meat. It's like fighting a tough animal, but they're not supernatural or anything. They don't have like they don't have supernatural shields or powers or anything really, other than just
they can climb
kind of
and
mischievous
get around real good.
Yeah, but I mean, you might want some body armor fighting these things.
Yes.
Like these things do use tools, like a chainsaw.
Yes, I was actually about to bring that up.
An electric chainsaw.
It's like,
with where physics don't really apply, because it just like jerked this thing back across the floor. But yeah, I mean, I think really between having just a flashlight, you're pretty good, and some extra batteries. Of course.
Yeah,
I mean,
extra batteries, super strong flashlight. That probably would do you the best.
Yeah, some sort of stabbing implement. I mean, I really don't have an anti-swarming sort of tool. I mean, that is part of the danger of these things, because they bring in kind of that zombie element where, you know, if one of these things jumps in a pool, then suddenly you're facing like 100 or more of these things all coming at you at once. I mean,
yeah.
I'm gonna just be straight. I don't think Santa made it. Like, there's one point where Santa comes screaming out of a house, and he has like 8 of these things all around him. Like, Santa got eaten by gremlins. 100% he got eaten.
He got eaten, and then they cut the brakes on the cop car, and
did they? Oh, they did.
And then the cop car ends up crashing into another car and then a building.
That is I thought that was actually really interesting. So the original meaning of gremlins was basically like how we use the term bugs now. If there's just a bug in the system.
It's like a glitch or something like that.
Yeah, so this was like an original term during like World War II, where, I mean, they would have like pieces of machinery and it would just have a gremlin in it. Like, that's kind of the reference that the old racist guy makes.
Yeah.
But
that is where those stories come from, though. Like,
yeah,
it's definitely
absolutely.
old World War tales about little creatures on like the wings of their planes, and they're like, "Oh, I got a gremlin."
Right? So let me blow your mind for a second.
What's up?
Who is the character that has all the machinery that brings the gremlin home? It's the dad, right? Like, he's the inventor. He's the one working with all this crazy machinery, and he's the one that brings the gremlin into the house. Like,
oh my
it's
god, and none of his stuff work after like 2 weeks of creating
right.
it.
Like, he's the gremlin bringer, or whatever you call it. He's the originator of the gremlins. Like that. I mean, that is a tie that that is straight from the director's commentary. But as soon as I heard that, I was just like, oh my god, it's totally true.
Oh my god, yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
It's full circle.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see what else. We got. Oh, and sunlight. Yeah, you really just have to stay out in the open.
Yep, out in the open.
If you can make it till dawn, you can defeat these things.
Yes,
vampire rules.
Especially if you can get them all in a greenhouse.
Yes, if you can get them all in a greenhouse. Yeah, be prepared to get like a towel too, because you're not gonna like it. They just turn into goo at the end.
Like even their bones and skeletons. Like it looks like the description of this gremlin stripe after being struck by a beam of sunlight.
Oh yeah,
is like they don't use CGI in the 80s. They use practical effects, which makes it look even more realistic. So like his skin starts to melt off of him, and then it's just like he's down to like just bare bone, and then even his like whole skeleton jumps out of whatever fountain there is, and then his skeleton dissolves on the floor.
Oh yeah, it's like a scene right out of Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I was gonna say Evil Dead.
Yeah,
like that sort of practical effects, I'd say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. A lot of the stuff was practical effects. A ton of like weird, gross puppetry and just like mixtures of like the plastic that they use to make some of the puppets and just like rando puppet parts they just kind of threw in a bucket for like meat pieces and things like that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was yeah, I mean, it's super gross. But I mean, as far as monsters go, they're still small, and if you can get like one or two by themselves, you've got a pretty good survival rate. As long as you're willing to go like super Casey Jones on these things.
Oh,
pretty much anything is gonna work.
Now, because I know you and I are both big nerds of the tabletop RPG type games,
for sure.
Would you? Because I know I would. Would you put them in a Monster of the Week game of yours?
Oh, absolutely. What would this be? I wonder what this would be classified under. Probably like Minions.
Yes, it definitely would be.
Definitely like motivated by like multiplying
and chaos.
Yeah, this would be a great.
It would be a great one.
Absolutely, yeah. This would be a classic monster to put into a RPG game.
I think it would be a pretty easy one too, because like it's got a good setup. It starts with the Mogwai, and if your players or whatever don't realize what it is off the bat, and they don't follow the rules, or maybe an NPC does, you now are swarmed with a bunch of gremlins, and now you have to figure out how to like clean up this mess.
Oh yeah, it's this episode is definitely going to end in like a massive explosion. It has to.
Oh yeah, massive explosions everywhere, all around.
Oh yeah, there's going to be a gas station blown up, or even better, a movie theater. It would be the best.
Yes. All right. I think that's all we got, unless you got any little extra tidbits.
No.
No? All right.
I'm surviving it.
A little bit of housekeeping. You got anything you want to plug? Maybe your Twitter or...
I don't have anything right now, but I will definitely keep you updated.
Okay, definitely. And you can find us at Bestiary on Twitter, and hopefully you all enjoyed the first episode of the Worldwide Bestiary. I'm Tyler Hamill, the host.
And I'm Chris Norton.
Thank you for listening.
Also host. Bye, guys.
Bye.